Was I ready? Hello!
Hello!
Thank you once again for joining us for this, the 70th episode of Drunk Doctor Who, discussing the 70th serial of the Doctor Who.
The Time Where we meet for the first time, the Sontarans.
The Sontarans, what are we drinking?
At least one Sontaran.
One Sontaran.
Magma Flame, and you have Twisted Tea.
Twisted Tea.
And I have regular tea, Earl Grey, and you have water. So.
And water, yeah, those are hydrators.
Yep.
And,
well, the tea's not hydrated. Caffeine dehydrates you.
Is that caffeinated tea? Earl Grey? Earl Grey.
Okay, so
caffeine.
Yep.
We have some milestones.
Alright, yeah. So this is the Sontaran. You can, make the screen big or whatever.
You can
bag it. Alright, so they look like potato heads. Mr. Potato Head. And new companion, Sarah Jane Smith. One of the most popular companions in Doctor Who's history.
Almost wrote Jill Grant again.
No, not Joe Grant. Sarah Jane Smith. And I guess also the Brigadier. He was in it at the beginning. The Brigadier's in the first episode only, but he was there. So, and got the Doctor started on this whole escapade. Let's see. Alright, so essentially, I feel like Mr. Rogers is taking my shoes off. Alright.
A lovely day in the neighborhood.
Yep. So, anyway, the Sontarans are a race of warriors that the Doctor runs into fairly frequently. In fact, they're one of the big classics, along with the Cybermen and the Daleks. Also, the Master and the Zygons. You'll get to the Zygons. You'll get to the Zygons. And they've all come back in the modern stuff, including the Sontarans. I'm trying to think if there are any other super classic Doctor Who villains. The Master, the Black Guardian. Black Guardian.
Is that like?
And he comes back a time or two.
Chen, Guardian of the Galaxy.
No, he's different from Chen, Guardian of the Galaxy, from Dalek's Master Plan. But he is the Black Guardian, and there's a White Guardian too.
You know who Chen reminded me of? You play Warcraft, World of Warcraft. You had the Guardian Medivh, and then like all of the Kirin Tor for all their magic, and the one Guardian. And to protect Azeroth, right? That turned out to be a really bad idea.
Yeah.
What happens to Guardians? They get corrupted. Just one man's mind against a torrent of the, all attacking forces of Azeroth. They have the Burning Legion.
Yeah, eventually.
Corrupted as it's like putting all your eggs in one basket.
Yep. Speaking of that,
that's what happened to Chen.
Yeah, speaking of that, that's what
machinations of
the Brigadier uses that expression at the beginning of the first episode.
Egg baskets.
Yeah.
So people are vanishing, right?
Right.
They're working in the super high-tech secret base.
Yeah. There's a secret center where they've got all these scientists from around the world who, although they all look pretty British. I don't know, one of them looks Spanish. He's got an olive complexion, maybe Greek.
They don't talk a whole lot.
Yeah. Well, for most of it, they're hypnotized.
Right.
Okay. So anyway, apparently there's people who've just flat out been disappearing lately. Oh, wait. At the very beginning, we start in the medieval times.
Yeah, that's the opening.
Yeah, the opening of the first episode. So it starts in medieval times. There's this guy named Iron Gron who took over a castle.
Antagonist.
Thanks to Sontaran Iron Gron. Yeah, who took over this castle. New Sarah Jane Smith, the Brigadier.
I ran out of room.
Alright, well, you wrote Sarah Jane Smith fairly large. Alright.
She's a new addition.
She is. And she sticks around for a good while.
I have to be able to read it from standing over there.
You realize that most people have large computer screens and they can magnify things.
They might be watching it on their phone.
Maybe. Alright. At the length of our episodes, they're killing their phone. Okay, so anyway,
maybe they're just listening to the audio.
So anyway, the Sontaran ship comes down and it lands. It was an emergency landing.
Falling star.
One of the guys, Blood Axe. Yeah, this guy's a bit of a goof, but he's funny. He goes, "Oh, it's a falling star. The stars are falling."
He's Iron Grun's yes man.
Yeah. And Iron Grun's like, "That's my star. It landed near here. We'll go out and get the star." And they're like, "Well, we don't want to go out at night. Who knows what demons may accost us?" Because we're in the early days of the Middle Ages. And so they decide to go with him once dawn hits in an hour. Mm-hmm. So dawn hits, they go out, they find this giant Sontaran ship. Looks a bit like the egg from Orc. Basically.
Hexagonal.
Yeah.
Patterns. Spherical thing.
Yeah. And then this Sontaran gets out of it, and he's dressed in full black armor. And he claims...
it looks like a quilted,
Yeah. But he's got the helmet.
Yeah.
And he claims Earth for the greater glory of the Sontaran Empire.
Yeah, and all its surrounding stars and solar systems, which brings me to a question, right? You have humans, very territorial. You have Iron Grun. He claimed the castle by right of combat.
Yeah.
Star falls nearby. He goes, "That's my star. Fell on my property. My star." And then you have this alien walk out, and he goes, "I claim all of Earth." And then Iron Grun just he's totally okay with it. He just ignores the fact that
he doesn't understand.
Iron Grun goes, "This is mine now." And he's like, "Oh, okay."
He does not understand half of what Lynx is saying half the time.
I guess not. I just thought I thought it was weird how Iron Grun, he was like, "This is my castle, my star." And he just totally skips over the part where the Sontaran's like, "Mine, my flag."
Well, he's like, "What the heck's a Sontaran Empire? What is it? What is this?" All right. So anyway, so then they go ahead and they make an alliance. He gets taken back to the castle, and he makes an alliance with Iron Grun, saying, "Okay, you must have enemies. So I'll give you weapons to defeat your enemies. In the meantime, you help me with shelter," and he needs all this technical stuff. Yeah, it's 20th century stuff. And he goes, "I don't know what that is." He says, "In that case, I'll have to find out who has it." And this is literally before the intro credits.
Brings us to modern day.
Yeah. So we spend half of the first episode in the Middle Ages, even before we get to the Doctor and the Brigadier. So the Brigadier gets the Doctor into the super secret Unity place, and because scientists have been disappearing, and machinery, computers and stuff.
Secret high-tech stuff they're working on.
Yeah, super high-tech stuff.
Circuitries, time travel stuff.
Guidance systems, alloys, propulsion systems.
Yes.
So the... I'm about to sneeze.
Let's do it. Look at the light. There it goes. Woo, that's a big one.
Pardon me.
I feel like the older you get, the louder your sneezes are.
I've always had loud, violent sneezes. Alright. So the...
Just don't hold them in.
No. So, the Doctor's trying to figure out what's going on with the scientists and the machinery.
Why people are disappearing.
Yeah. And a young lady comes in, Sarah Jane Smith, and she passes herself off as Lavinia Smith, who happens to be her aunt. The Doctor's like, "Lavinia Smith, I read this great paper that you wrote." She says, "Oh yeah, thank you. But looking at you now, you must have written it when you were 5. And the Doctor sniffs her out and figures it out, and she admits to being Sarah Jane Smith and a journalist, and that it was her aunt who got the invitation to come, but she was off in America at the time, so she accepted it instead.
Took her place, yes.
Yeah,
she can do undercover journalism.
And in fact, her aunt seems to be a wealthy, well-known scientist lady who she uses as a... She ends up house sitting for her aunt in K9 and Company. and that's where the Canine and Company spin-off is played.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so much stuff in Doctor Who if you pay attention, but you gotta see so much of it.
Subtleties. I would have missed it. I missed most things. I thought the Santaran was an Oberon.
Well, it looks kind of like an Oberon in the picture there. So anyway, the Santarans are this great race, and they're having this giant intergalactic war. Yeah, race of potato heads. And this intergalactic war with
Rutans.
The Rutans. And we've seen the Santarans a lot, but we only ever see the Rutans once.
I wonder why.
They are a jellyfish-like polymorphic, they can change shape, entity. Okay. And they show up once in an episode with the Fourth Doctor when... Yeah, let's not do that.
What is that?
I don't know, but don't do it. Alright. But they end up once in a...
Oh, it's this thing bouncing. Is it? Yeah. That bounces.
Yeah, don't do that.
Okay.
But they end up... the Fourth Doctor meets the Rotons in a lighthouse. And they killed pretty much everybody.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, speaking of this, we only had 2 deaths the entire serial.
They're all in the last episode.
Yeah, the last episode. We were going episode by episode, no deaths, but finally the 2 bad guys died at the very end.
Spoiler. So for the Middle Ages, it was surprisingly family friendly.
Mm-hmm. A little bit of roughhousing with the women.
Yes. That's all family friendly.
and yelling at them and stuff, but nothing that you wouldn't have expected. In fact, you would have expected much worse. Luckily, especially in the old Doctor Who, there is almost 0 hint of sexuality. And so any of that kind of roughhousing is completely just not mentioned at all, thank goodness. Yeah. But okay.
No rolls in the hay.
Huh?
No rolls in the hay.
Alright. So, let's see. So, the Doctor sets himself up an alarm clock that reads delta waves.
A rhodium sensor.
Yeah, for delta particles. Yeah. Delta particles. And you're going to use it to wake him up whenever, because he's figuring somebody's stealing the people out of there. Mm-hmm. So it's a matter transference.
Yeah.
So Sarah Jane keeps asking him questions, and there's this really nice professor called Rudish.
Joseph Rudish.
Right. Who's blind as a bat without his glasses. So, anyway, so they're all lodging on this one floor in the house. Rudish disappears, and the Doctor uses his sensors to figure out what it is, and that he was taken out by matter transference. And he figures out there's also time transference. Let's see.
The reason is that you have links that made the crash landing in the Middle Ages, but he needed technology outside of that time. But he's operating on a limited power source because of his crashed spaceship, so he can only reach as far as the 20th century to steal, materials and scientists. So it's somewhat suboptimal for him, but that's why those people are disappearing. Turns out.
Mm-hmm. So the Doctor follows the trail of the delta particles back to England, back to that same spot essentially, but like 500 years, 600 years earlier.
Like a bloodhound.
Yeah.
The TARDIS lands on target.
Yeah, perfect landing for once.
For once.
He's gotten it so much better now. But Sarah Jane Smith, while looking for Rudish, ends up hiding in the TARDIS as a stowaway.
By accident. Accidental stowaway, which brings our companion introductions to several stowaways.
Yeah.
Forced entries.
Well,
accidental travels.
Sarah Jane. Well, Dodo just kind of barged in.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't exactly stow away. She was... Steven.
Barbara and Ian kind of barged on board.
Well, they barged on board. They didn't stow it. Yeah, they barged on board.
First time the Brigadier travels in the TARDIS, right? Doesn't he insist his way into the TARDIS?
Well, he insists his way in, but the first time he actually travels in the TARDIS, they were in the negative universe. And the Doctor was using the anti-negative universe. Okay. The Doctor used the TARDIS to bring him back. Yeah.
Well, never mind about the Brigadier then.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out if anybody else. Some of the people actually get invited onto the TARDIS. Such as...
Victoria,
Jamie. Zoe. Vicky. Let's see. And in some ways, Barbara and Ian.
Susan.
Well, Susan was his granddaughter. She stole the TARDIS with him. But yeah, we've got a good number of people who stow away or kind of forced their way in.
Seems to be a recurring theme.
Yeah. Okay, so
like Joe, right? Joe Grant. Did she sneak her way on?
No.
That was when the TARDIS wasn't functional.
It wasn't functional. He invited her.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So then, the Doctor leaves, and Sarah Jane kind of follows him, but she goes a different direction. They both wind up at the castle, and Sarah Jane accidentally stomps an archer from assassinating Iron Gron. Which is real sad, because if he died, then it would have been a much shorter story.
Totally different episode.
Yep. Wait, what's the end of the first episode?
When Sarah Jane Smith is kidnapped. So she wanders out of the TARDIS. She's doing her investigative reporter thing, staying back from the Doctor. The Doctor kind of heads off that way. She's really confused about her surroundings because she walks out of the police box like it's still just a police box, but bigger on the inside.
Yeah.
Now I'm in the forest. And then she runs into Hal, the Robin Hood-like archer guy who's sent there to assassinate Iron Gron. And she goes, "Excuse me, do you have a telephone?"
Throws off his shot. Oh.
Yeah. So then, the arrow whizzes by Iron Gron. They go capture them, and he sends out all his minions to go grab Hal, the archer, and Sarah Jane Smith. And they drag them back to the castle to question them. And that's where our first episode ends.
Okay. I thought there was a spot where we saw the Sontaran.
Well, he's in the very beginning of the episode.
No. Where we saw the Sontaran's face. I thought that was the end.
That's the end of episode 2.
Oh, okay. It's the end of episode 2. All right.
I think.
So,
or at somewhere.
Yeah.
Because then Lynx comes out to unlock Sarah Jane Smith's brain because she's not talking.
Oh, okay. At first, Sarah Jane thinks that what they're doing is some sort of Renaissance festival, pageant,
tourist trap.
Was it Rag Day? Rag Day? Is that like April Fool's Day?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
So prank.
She doesn't know where they are. She doesn't know they've gone back in time, and she just berates Ironguard
for their poor tourism hospitality.
Iron Gone. Yeah. And she's like, "Yeah, you may have taken this too far. The smell." And she thinks they're acting and stuff until she gets pushed around a bit, and then finally she comes to realize maybe they're not playing at this. And then they get Lynx to hypnotize her with this flashy light, and
does the same thing to Hal because Hal's not talking. Wait, right? No, that's the messenger they intercept later. That's later.
Yeah, Hal gets captured later.
Well, they captured Hal with Sarah Jane Smith, right? Yeah. It's the messenger they capture later that they do the... They capture the messenger in episode 1?
Yeah, early on.
Okay, we totally skipped that part.
We did skip that part. We've ignored Sir Edward or Lord Edward.
That's the neighbor.
That's the neighbor castle.
So we had the king, he's off at war. We have all these,
all these castles barely
landlords.
Yeah.
So we have Sir Edward's, who's Irongron's neighboring castle. The king picked up all Sir Edward's troops to take them to war with him. So that's why Irongron and his band of mercenaries have been able to defeat the castle and claim their territory and push their mercenary type agenda. So now they're getting
mercenary type agenda.
Now that he's captured that castle, and they're eating up all the stocks and wine and food, they're gonna go try and raid their neighbor Sir Edward's, who doesn't really have any troops left to defend himself, because they want better wine. So that's where
he complains about the wine a lot and the food. But yeah, so the brigands, Irongrond's men, they end up early in episode 1 capturing a messenger of Sir Edward, who's trying to get together like 4 or 5 guards from all the surrounding area lords so that he can defeat Irongrond. But the messenger gets captured, and they bring in Lynx to break the messenger.
Mm-hmm.
So Lynx, shoots his little deal at him. It is a key. I have unlocked his mind. Ask him what you want. Yeah. And
his sonic screwdriver. He unlocks people's brains instead of their.
The sonic screwdriver.
He calls it a key.
So this is almost completely a weapon.
He says he unlocks them.
This is almost completely a weapon.
It's a Suntarn version of the sonic screwdriver.
Oh, it'd be an optical screwdriver.
Optical screwdriver. Where's good with it?
But anyway, so it's already proven that he can get all the information he wants. So finally, they bring him in episode 2 for Sarah Jane, and he does a thing, and he's like, who, what, why, or when, who, what, and where, how, who, what, and how.
Sarah Jane Smith,
journalist. Yeah, journalist.
Machine I don't know anything about.
Yeah, some guy called the Doctor, who at first she does not like the Doctor. It takes her to like episode 3 before she starts liking the Doctor.
I have some notes about that.
Yeah, I mean, she thought he was a spy because they're trying to figure out who's stealing everything.
Mm-hmm. This episode really reminded me of like playing through some side quests in like Elder Scrolls, and how there's different power structures or kind of levels of government. So like one of the main storylines in the Elder Scrolls Skyrim is that you have the Civil War going on. You have the Stormcloaks, and then the wherever the other side is, the Legionaries. So it really splits Skyrim into these different like halves, where like this is Stormcloak territory, this is Red Cloak territory or whatever, and they're fighting. But then you take a look under that to like side quests, and really there's like a whole different layer of power structures, to where you have really this is bandit territory, and you have hag ravens here, and you have necromancers here. So you look at the map and it's like, well, that's not really Stormcloak territory, and that's so. In this episode, it's like King Henry or whatever is off to war, so he has this homeland, which is supposed to be his territory, but really it's governed by like, these United States of different landlords and.
Well, he gives
territory, right? These sirs.
The king gives certain estates to different lords to manage, and that includes villages and stuff near the castles, which he manages for the king.
And then there's this other sort of local power structure of these local mercenaries and bandits that, since he's off to war, they're raiding castles and
those guys. Irongrond.
So we're not here. We're like here on the
tertiary
government
level.
Structure. Yeah. So it's like kind of. I don't know what brought that up.
I
thought it was interesting.
I played Skyrim for about half an hour. Went, I could be playing World of Warcraft. This is World of Warcraft without people.
Mm-hmm. So the whole story is localized in these 2 different neighboring castles, and that's all you're.
Pretty much. That and just a little bit of the countryside. Yeah.
Some aliens that come in.
Okay, so in episode 2, Sarah Jane manages to. Okay.
There's a new intro theme.
Yeah, really cool new intro.
New companion, new intro.
Well, it's the same. It's a different take on the same theme.
Right, same theme song, but like the graphic.
The visuals are different. Yeah.
Which means, do we need a new visual for?
Nah.
I guess.
No.
We have an intro, outro, right?
Yeah, we have an intro and an outro.
Yeah. The intro is starting to look a little dated.
That's fine. I'm starting to look a little dated. Yeah. So anyway, right after Lynx breaks Sarah Jane, he shows Iron Gron this iron knight that he made, a robot.
Robot golem thing.
Yeah. I don't know why he didn't. I mean, I'm very surprised that Gollum did not come out of Iron Gron's mouth, because that would have been the medieval
sorcery, like magic.
Yeah, Middle Ages sort of thing.
They don't
That's
understand
what you would have called it, yeah. So, Link shows him this, and it's a fighting machine, and it's okay, because it'll try to kill, but you can't kill it, really. Well, until you destroy the
circuitry,
the control
panel, but you can lob it full of arrows, and it doesn't have a heart or something. So
right. So the Doctor makes his way into the castle.
Mm-hmm.
He
covertly.
Yeah, covertly. He sees Sarah Jane Smith get captured. And he's like, "What is she doing here?"
Mm-hmm.
He makes his way into the castle. He tries to get her to leave with him. She runs another direction.
Yeah.
She still doesn't like him and thinks he's the bad guy.
From her perspective, she's seeing these scientists disappear. She sees the Doctor get into the TARDIS right as Rubish disappears. Then she goes in. Well, she went in before him, but anyway, she stows away. He comes out. He walks straight towards the castle, and she gets captured by the people that run the castle that he walked towards. So from her perspective, she goes, "Oh, the Doctor is working with this Iron Gron guy, and that's why the scientists have been disappearing."
She doesn't really know much about Lynx.
Right.
So anyway, they're just about to kill the archer Hal, when literally executing him, when Iron Gron says, "No, wait, let him fight for his life," and he brings in the Iron Golem.
Trial by combat.
Yeah, and so the archer shoots at the guy, and okay, what's his face? Battle Axe or Blood Axe? Blood Axe is like, he brings up some great points. He says, "No, at this range, his arrows will pierce the weak points of his armor. He won't stand a chance."
At first, so Iron Gron walks in. He goes, "Here's my champion fighter," and Blood Axe goes, "Wait a minute, I'm the champion." He's kind of offended, and he's like, "We're gonna put him against the archer." And then Blood Axe goes, "Well, you're gonna lose one of your best men, apparently."
Yeah, but the archer gets pierced in the shoulder, and then in right through where the heart would be.
Yeah.
And the archer's like, "He's not dying. Why is he not dying?" So
the robot is very like tin soldier.
Yeah, like,
on a rotary, still walking, shopping.
The Doctor's made his way up to the parapet, and it's crenellated, so he's able to get a shot down, and he uses
the guards are distracted by the fight that's going on.
Oh yeah,
so he sneaks up and just picks up the crossbow.
He uses the crossbow to shoot the control out of Iron Gron's hand.
Yeah.
So the control being knocked out of his hand short circuits the iron robot, and he goes after Iron Gron.
Yeah. And
Iron Gron knocks the head off, but of course it's still attacking.
It falls over, but it's kind of just like writhing on the...
Right. And so he's angry at Lynx because, hey, how dare you give me this defective stuff? And to be fair, Lynx throughout this entire thing is honorable. He keeps up his side of the bargain, whereas Iron Gron is not keeping up his side of the bargain.
Right.
He gives the guy the weapons. He figures out what's wrong with things, and he warns them right as he's about to leave the castle, stuff like that.
Yeah.
No, he told them. But Iron Gron just couldn't understand any of it.
He goes, "I suggest you take another castle."
Yeah, it's just you're going to want to leave
it's
this.
Like, we're celebrating, and then he goes, "Well, you're not."
Hey,
Why am I concerned about mortals?
Well, he tries. He tries. They just don't understand what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So then, during this, Sarah Jane makes her escape with Hal.
Mm-hmm.
The nice young blonde archer.
Yeah, they're distracted by the robot that went haywire, so that Hal, crawls away and...
Yeah, Hal looks very much like Prince Valiant.
The What do you call that haircut style?
Yeah, the bob.
Prince haircut.
Yeah. So
the Robin Hood suit on.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So they escape. They manage to get out.
I guess that was like their green kind of forest camouflage. Is why they wore specifically those colors. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah. And then the doctor. The doctor ends up being caught. Well, he runs away. Well, okay. First, he gets caught, and he gets sent to Lynx's dungeon. Yeah, and then he escapes.
That's the end of episode 2. Is the doctor making a run for it?
Yeah. Oh, now there was a scene earlier where he saw the Centaur for what he was.
Right, because that was right when he was infiltrating the castle while Sarah Jane Smith was being
behind
captured.
I still think it's the end of episode 1.
That's the beginning of episode 2.
And the end of episode 1.
Sarah Jane Smith is first captured, at the end of episode 1, and then
and then the doctor sees the Centaur.
He sees the Centaur and take off his helmet, and then look around or smell.
And we've never seen that before, so I think it was the end of the episode. And then in episode 2, the doctor manages to escape, and he leads them on this grand chase in the middle of the courtyard. And he's fighting for his life.
He's flipping people around, disarming people, and throwing buckets.
In the meantime, Sarah Jane and Hal, while the doctor was captured and sent to Lynx, and he and Lynx have this conversation. Well, you're not of this world. How did you find me? Right. Well, I'm a Time Lord, and they're having this whole big conversation before the doctor manages to escape because Sarah Jane and Hal go back to Sir Edward's castle, and they're talking with him, and she's like, we need to go capture the doctor because she thinks that the doctor's the one responsible for all this stuff. So we need to do a raid, we need to knock out a couple of the guards, we need to go capture him, get in, get out fast.
Commando raid.
And Hal's like, well, I don't think women should do this. And she's like, or this isn't women's work or something. And she's like,
we'll miss it for the world.
Yeah, women's of the world. Besides, I'm the only one who knows what the doctor looks like. Yeah. But she's finally in some appropriate clothes. That's one of the things Lynx noticed was that her 20th century garb was machine woven. So it's like, wait a second, this is machine woven, So
this serial takes place over several days. So it kind of skips out the transition of the days, but we assume that there's night, and then she had an outfit change. Yeah,
it's good to. They could have dragged this out to 6 episodes by putting in.
I'm glad they didn't.
Yeah, by putting in detail filler and explaining a few things more. But I think this worked perfectly as 4 episodes. Well paced. Maybe 5. I could have possibly seen 5. But no, I think the 4 episodes was a good clip. It moved really quickly, and unlike the stuff in the '60s where you needed plots to last longer because there were 44 episodes, this definitely would have been stretched out to 6 episodes then. Although to be fair, we have the 4 episode The Crusade, which was kind of similar as an example for this 4 episode deal. In fact, come to think of it, it's probably the closest we have direct comparison to this serial. The Crusade. All right. So anyway, Sarah Jane and Hal take a couple men with them, and they're going back to try and commando raid and take the doctor out.
Covert operation.
Right.
Snatch up the doctor.
So the doctor.
We're in episode 3 now.
Well, no, not yet. So the doctor escapes, and then he does that big, crazy choreographed scene in the courtyard where they're fighting, and he's just doing everything he can not to be captured.
Right.
And then he finally falls down after about 3 minutes of fighting and running around. And he falls down, and he's about to be killed by Iron Graw. Nobody hits Iron Graw and gets away with it. When Hal's
sharpshooter.
Right when he's about to be killed by Iron Graw is when the episode ends. Then we go to episode 3, and they show a much edited down version of the fight scene. They skip about 2 minutes of it, but they want to show you that Sarah Jane and Hal were watching that whole fight.
Different perspective.
And they were like, hey, doctor, over here. And then, different perspective. And then Hal shoots the axe out of Iron Grotten's hand.
Yeah. So either Hal's a really good shot that shot the axe out of his hand, or he missed and he was trying to shoot him in the head.
The way he shoots, I would suspect he was a really good shot. And he would have gotten Iron Grotten earlier except for Sarah Jane. But anyway, so then they use that, the doctor uses that chance to escape, and he manages to get away, and he goes, thank you, Sarah Jane, for the rescue. And she goes, this isn't a rescue, it's a capture. And then they take him and drag him off to Edward's castle. Edward is convinced the doctor is a sorcerer, a wizard.
Yes.
And they get to the castle, and finally Sarah Jane starts asking him questions, and he starts answering.
With the line that I never lie.
Well,
most of the time.
Most of the time. But the doctor lies. That's a common thing,
all
actually.
Of the time.
Not all the time, but he lies often enough. Different doctors do it to different lengths. But anyway, so...
Or like Troughton, because he was always playing a character incognito. And, they say the key to being an undercover is just confidence. You just walk in like you own the place. And that was always
exactly.
like a character Troughton was playing. Like,
well, it's like in this,
Hartnell did it.
In one of the episodes, the doctor's just walking and whistling. The 2 guards look at him and he goes, come here. Hiya! And he knocks them both out.
I like the one where he goes, how do you do?
And he pulls them towards him, and that's pretty much actually the beginning of that whole chase fight scene. Okay, so the doctor manages to finally convince Sarah Jane, she's mostly convinced, that he's not the bad guy. That it's
He explains, Iron Lynx's involvement and the whole doctor's disappearing and the contraptions he was making, and then she sort of pieces things together from this new perspective and goes, okay, yeah, I remember that guy who had the blinky flashlight.
Yeah, and she's finally getting the idea that, wait, maybe he's right.
But Sir Edwards is not convinced. He's like, well, you're just some wizard. Do your sorcery for me or we'll kill you. And the doctor's like, well, you give me quite the 2 options. Yeah.
But I think one of the reasons that Sarah Jane was sour on him in the beginning is because she asked a bunch of questions, because she's a journalist and she's always super inquisitive, like all the way through. And he, as a result, was a bit snippy with her. And she took that as offense. She took offense to that. Well, yeah, I think she just took offense because she didn't like she liked people to answer questions, not wonder why she was asking them, and she didn't want them to be condescending, patronizing, or snippy with her.
Yeah.
And she accuses the doctor of doing that a time or 2.
Which, I mean, he was kind of being condescending in the way that he was given short answers because he knew she wouldn't really understand what he's doing. So when he's making the radium sensor...
It's my alarm clock.
It's my alarm clock, which, I mean, it was a really simple way of explaining it.
Well...
She's like, don't be condescending. So then he goes in detail explaining it's these particles that I'm fond of. What were they?
Delta
particles I'm fond of. It's a rhodium sensor. It's going to wake me up when the sensor goes on.
To be fair, he doesn't turn her in for being there when she shouldn't be there. He doesn't do that, and he...
which is another reason why Sarah Jane might suspect that he's, up to no good, because what did 2 people... Well, it's like you see somebody stealing while you're stealing, and you go, I'm not going to say anything, and honor among thieves kind of thing. So she might assume that, well, he didn't turn her in because he's not really up to any good himself. He doesn't care if someone's incognito.
But I think he just did it because he found it amusing.
Yeah.
But then he said, well, we need somebody to make the tea or make the coffee. Oh, man. I think he was just pushing her buttons because she's very much big chested, I am woman, hear me roar kind of thing. And I think he's just poking fun at it,
Pressing buttons, yeah.
Yeah, he's just going, well, let's see what I can do. But anyway, so okay, back to episode 3.
Episode 3.
Okay, so
he's talking to Sir Edwards.
Right, talking to Sir Edwards.
Cast your sorcery for my side.
Right, he says, okay, I'll do that. And so they find out that they're going to be invaded by noon the next day.
Yeah, while Sarah Jane Smith and Hal were covertly working their way through the castle to commando grab the doctor, they overhear them talking about their invasion. Right? Because Lynx has given them these new weapons of
rifles.
stars.
They're rifles.
Flintlock rifles, which I mean...
No, not flintlock.
They're... I feel like ball ammunition type of... Well, because they have the flintlock cap igniters.
I think you're right. I think
it's just really old technology Lynx was giving them, but with very new technology from their point
centuries away from them.
But it's just really easy for him to like work those up while he's fixing the spaceship. So he's like, here's some,
Well, I mean, he's not going to be able to make ammo for machine guns. He can't make a proper bullet, but he can make little projectiles.
He could if he wanted to. Because he's capturing these scientists from the 20th century.
If he's working with a very low time frame going on.
Yeah, right. So he can really easily mix up some flintlock rifles while he's fixing the spaceship rather than putting all his time into,
machine guns.
Making them 20th century guns. Because they're still a huge improvement from the Middle Ages. He goes, here's your future weapons, your flintlock.
So, essentially, Irongron and his men and Lynx is very much wanting to see the combat.
He's just a warmonger.
Right. Show up to the cat. Well, like the doctor says.
He's making
it's like a kid with the red ants and the black ants stirring them up. So they show up and the doctor has made some
there's so much
stink bombs.
To that, right? Because like I'm a 25-year-old man though. I had an anthill in my yard, and then I had to get rid of them, so you get the ant poison, you put out the ant poison pellets, and it's just like, there's something about ants and watching like this colony work, and I just stood there for like half an hour watching them pick up the little poison pellets and take them back to the hole, and then I stepped on a few. It's just really interesting, you just watch them work, and you're like, wow, I feel like I related to Lynx and his childlike...
Stirring up the...
interference.
Primitives,
his childlike interference with he couldn't help but have fun with the situation he was
true it was, like Dr. said, it's preventing him from being bored.
It's like you're working on your homework, you play a little game of checkers over here, and you go back to your homework.
Alright, so the doctor has mixed up stink bombs with some flash powders and some bang powders
and dummies
stuff. And they've got dummies. They've got the good old classic dummies on the walls and the crenellations to make it look like there's more men.
Now, I have a question about this, right? So, the doctor, he's in his TARDIS, lands the TARDIS in the forest, right? Mm-hmm. Instead of going to the TARDIS and just grabbing some sort of really easy projector or some sort of, Time Lord technology, he could really easily whip up some sort of illusion, right? Some sort of illusionary projector, kind of like when he's just that little tool he made real quick when he's following the trail and he outlines the Lynx when he came in the first episode, and they shot it the echo of Lynx, right? So it's really easy for him to be work with Time Lord technology and make something that could project something like that. But instead of just running to his TARDIS in the forest and grabbing something that could really easily do that, he painstakingly, whips up all these herbs and like some, he works in his environment rather than using his technology, which has always kind of been a point of frustration watching it, because instead of going to the TARDIS and just using some sort of Time Lord technology, he painstakingly hand makes these dummies and paints their faces and puts those up, the dummies up, rather than...
Well, A, the dummies are a good idea either way. Mm-hmm. B, it gave everybody in the castle something to do. Mm-hmm. He said there was going to be a lot of work for everybody, and it gave them something to do so they wouldn't worry. I mean, hey, here's the thing. You could be driving a bus off a cliff, right? But if you've got a plan and you're leading, and you do it right, everybody on the bus will be calm. But it's when they have time to think about what's happening that they won't be calm.
Yeah.
So he's trying to keep their minds off of what's coming by giving them a task and allowing them to directly participate in the defense of the castle.
I feel like there's just a certain characteristic trait about the Doctor that he just never really uses the technology at his disposal. He's always a product of his environment, and he it's kind of like a game for him. He enjoys innovating and using his surroundings rather than, doing anything the easy way.
He does that to a great extent until in the future when he becomes too reliant on the sonic screwdriver. But yes,
that's the writers of the show.
Correct. Here he's being innovative, and he's doing something that the people there could do.
Mm-hmm.
And
that makes sense. I didn't think about that.
Well, yeah, he wants to be able to teach them how to do it if necessary, which is
interesting because that's the same problem he has with Lynx showing up and introducing them to technology they're not ready for. And in the meantime, he's showing them how to make stink bombs out of
well, like that could have been made easily.
And like sleeping poisons and
no, those were made back then.
Right, he's doing it to like this extent, and Lynx is doing it to this extent, but he's kind of doing his own messing with fire ants kind of thing.
No, I mean
he took his side, and Lynx took his side. And
they had such chemistry back in the Roman days, you know. I mean, Greek fire. We don't know what Greek fire consisted of today, but apparently it was amazing.
Like the medieval napalm type.
Well, no, Greek fire goes back to time of Christ or before, but it was fire. It was an oil that would burn on top of water.
Yeah, like napalm.
Yeah, but we don't know how the heck they made it.
No.
We don't know, but I mean, they used to have chemists and people, alchemists who would do that kind of stuff back in the day, and just really cool. But anyway, so they show up. They at first fire at the walls with the rifles, but
really bad shots.
They're bad shots. And this is shown later on. They're really bad shots. They haven't had any real practice with it, with the rifles. And so finally, Lynx goes, okay, and he shoots one. He says, "Well, those aren't real. Those are dummies." So they grab their scaling ladders. See a bit? All right. They grab their scaling ladders and they go to scale the walls. Now, if this wasn't such a family-friendly show, you would expect the women of the castle to be on the walls with boiling hot iron, oil, or grease, throwing it down at the guys. But anyway, so he throws the stink bombs. They smell it real bad. They see the explosions. They hear the bangs. And they all basically run away, being led by Arngron, because an arrow got very close to his head, thanks to Hal. Actually, I'm not sure it was Hal, maybe one of the other men. But anyway, so they run away. They get back to their castle. Lynx is like, well, wait a second. You're a coward. Why did your men run away? And Arngron, who is a hothead Hanyok, he just blames on the men. And Lynx is like, well, wait a second. You were leading the retreat, sir. You told them to run away. And he goes to swing his axe at Lynx, and Lynx just bats it away. Centaurans are incredibly strong. Like I was saying, the only weakness they have is a tube at the back of their neck. Kind of like that deal where you put in the stuff for the Matrix. And apparently it's some sort of growing tube or something, but it's also designed as a flaw so that Centaurans cannot run away from a fight. They always have to face it because their weakness is at the back of their neck. So they have to face the enemy. They have to, or they will die. he ends up going back to his lab after all that, and he says, look, I'm going to be leaving soon. I'm going to try and make your voice activated night so you don't have the weakness of the control. But when I leave, and I'll be leaving soon, it'll all be done. The doctor ends up having to go back. He's trying to rescue the men, the scientists, because he knows when the ship takes off that it's going to blow up the entire castle. There's just no way around that. So, let's see, he ends up... Man, there's so many escapes and going back to Sir Edward's castle and then going back to Ironground's castle and going back and then going back. But luckily, they don't show them all.
And then that's when the Daleks showed up.
No, Daleks. No, I'm laughing at how many times they escape and they go back to the one castle and they go back to the other one and they escape again and go back.
They sure did.
Huh?
Because they keep leaving things behind. Like the scientists need to be saved. The doctor needs to be captured.
Yeah.
Sir James Smith needs to be saved.
Yeah, so they end up going back.
Again.
And what was the end of episode 3?
The end of episode 3 was Lynx shooting the doctor with the flashlight beam.
Oh, okay. We're not quite there yet. So they go back to the castle. They end up getting captured. Because they're trying to help the scientists escape, and Lynx has worked them to death. He doesn't feed them. He doesn't give them any rest, and so they're falling like flies. Yeah. Just going boom, 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 because they need food and rest. And the doctor...
He doesn't really get that, though.
He doesn't
It's like, why aren't you working?
Well, they just get fed through that feed tube, and Centaurans apparently don't rest.
Yeah, that's like their private parts.
Yeah.
It's probic vent.
Yeah.
So when you hit that, it's like kicking them in the nuts or something.
Essentially, yeah. So the doctor's trying to use a little light, and he's beating out a polka rhythm to get through to the brains and unhypnotize them. And he does that with a couple.
Speaking of hypnotism, you ever watch Office Space?
Yeah.
We watched that last night.
Oh, well, that makes funny. He ends up... so Doctor ends up... Lynx comes in. He tells Sarah Jane and what's-his-face to hide. Rubish. They hide. Then the Doctor's just about to be confronted by... Lynx, and he starts using the light on him, the optical screwdriver or whatever, and that's where the episode ends. At the very beginning of episode 4, which is a very short, as opposed to a very long recap, Sarah Jane jumps on Lynx and saves the Doctor from the optical screwdriver. Mm-hmm. Then he goes, well, I should just kill you now, and the Doctor says, well, wait a minute, I could help you. And the Doctor has 2 or 3 times by now offered to help get him back to his people if he would send all the scientists back to the 20th century and all the equipment and destroy the weapons that he's given Ironground. Yeah. And the Santarno always says no.
Because why would he trust the Doctor? Like he can trust an alliance he makes with these primitive Middle Ages people because he knows he has a superior strength and weaponry, and they can't really revolt against him. But then you have someone of like equal intellect and technology. It's like he can't trust to make a deal with that guy because all he knows is war, right? So he's okay making a deal with the fire ants, right? But he expects betrayal from someone on the same...
Well, actually, it's funny because the Doctor would have done it, and it's Ironground who betrays him.
But he's not really worried about Ironground.
Right. Well, I would argue that the Time Lord's intellect and technology far surpass the Santarans.
So, but they're still also like enemies. Like they know each other, right? Because you're the ticket
right here in your beard, other side. There you go.
They're the ticket checkers for
Yeah.
space travel. Some Terrans don't like the time lord.
Sarah Jane finally understands that he can travel anywhere in time and space with a TARDIS. She finally believes him on that. She also finds out that he's not human, he's a Time Lord. She's having a hard time processing all this, but she does. Okay, so...
We never really had the Doctor be so forthcoming with his...
Well, he's been at UNIT for a while, and they... he's gotten more open about all that. But you're right. The first and second Doctor were very private about that. But to be fair, the Time Lords had not even been named. The planet Gallifrey had not been named till late in the second Doctor's run. Okay, so the Doctor's waking them up. He's talking to Lynx, and he says, "Yeah, like I know that your only weakness, because he sees Rubish pick up a bar. Your only weakness is the probic valve at the back of your neck." And he goes, and he just hits him on the back of the neck and stuns Lynx, and they tie him up with some...
Nutshell.
It looks like almost twine.
Yeah,
but the Doctor was like, well, they're designed for strength, not leverage. And I'm still thinking to myself, I still think you can break out of that, but sure, we'll go with that lucky guys.
He said they're designed for hauling, so like pulling, not kind of like an alligator's mouth, right? It has really strong closing, clamping power, but if you hold the alligator's mouth shut, it doesn't have the same tensile like muscle strength to open its mouth.
Yeah, I can see that.
So Terrans aren't used to being bound. They don't have that sort of. Their muscles aren't designed for they're for hauling things and stuff.
So right after he ties up Link, they knock out Lynx and they tie him up. Blood Axe, having been sent by Iron Grom, comes to fetch Lynx. So the Doctor puts on his helmet, disguises his voice like Lynx's, and then he disguises himself like the Iron Robot, much like Dick Van Dyke in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, disguising himself as the doll. The
dancer.
Yeah.
That's a weird movie.
That's a great movie.
I haven't seen that movie in a while.
Love that movie.
That scene kind of creeped me out.
Let's see. So he goes and he's fighting. He says, "Hey, I was sent by my master Lynx. I am here to command." And Iron Gron is pretty accepting, and he goes, "Hey, he said he'd make me one that was voice activated, then went to my voice without a control."
You see that Iron Gron's a lot more fond of the boomstick flint rifles than the Iron Golems. He's a lot more skeptical about the robots because of what happened with the first one.
Right, but
so he's intent on putting this one through its paces.
Right, but he's insisting on destroying the thing just to see what it can do. And I'm like, so he fights it. And the Doctor comes with a great line: "I was programmed to protect you, not fight you."
He's like, well, let's see if you have any self-preservation then.
Well, half the time, that would have been it. They would have ended it there, But this guy just is intent on destroying this robot.
Yeah.
And so he fights the robot, or the Doctor, and the Doctor defeats him. And Blood Axe is like, "I've never seen such fine swordsmanship." And then the Doctor, he said, "Well, let's both fight him." And they're both fighting. And apparently he defeats both of them at the same time. And they're like, "Well, tell you what, let's put a couple arrows in it, and then we'll knock off its head, and then see if it's still good." It's like, I'm like, you have this great thing. Why are you trying to destroy it?
He doesn't like the robots.
Yeah. So...
Putting it through. Because Link said he was going to make several, right? So he's really putting this one through its paces. So he's not so concerned about destroying
Right. But he says, and that's where he is. He's making more of me.
Yeah. So he's like, let's destroy this one to see what it's capable of, and I'll have more later. So he's breaking his toys.
Finally, the Doctor drops his disguise and talks in his normal voice. And finally, he's like, Ogron's like, "Well, wait a second. That sounds like a... Oh my gosh, what's he called?
Nelly speaker.
No.
Pussy, something.
No. Oh my gosh, it's the region, not Norway, but it starts with an N. It was the people that were there before the Vikings came.
Norse?
Well, that's the Vikings, or the Norse.
Norwegian?
No, in Norwegian. I think it's an area in France. I can't think of it. Yeah, sounds like a whatever ninny, right?
Yeah, so the doctor's acting like a robot.
But
let's shoot the robot with arrows.
Like,
he goes, whoa,
yeah.
that's not a good idea.
Yeah, and he says, well,
you don't sound like a robot anymore.
Pull up your visor. He says, I can't do that. And so...
It'll startle you.
Yeah, so he pulls up the visor and he goes, oh my god.
It's the wizard.
It's the wizard. It's the sorcerer.
So I warned you.
Norman, I think. Is that it?
Norman?
No, not Norman. I'll probably think of it later. So he gets startled. The doctor, I told you. And the doctor tries to get away. He's captured. Then Irongron, he's about to kill the doctor. He says, no, let this be more fun.
Blood Axe is about to execute him, and then Irongron wants to test out the new flintlock pistols.
Well, yeah. So
he goes, an execution's too swift to death for the likes of you. We shall have you die to your own medicine, right? He's like, you shall die by wizardry, wizard.
So they give like 5 of the grunts these flintlock rifles, and the doctor's running back and forth and dodging and weaving like, one of those carnival attractions you're trying to shoot. And they're trying to hit him, and they're stormtroopers in how bad they shoot.
Can you blame them?
I've never seen the weapon before, much less fired it.
Flintlock rifles are not an accurate.
They're better than a blunderbuss, but not by much.
Not a sharpshooting weapon.
Yeah.
Type of a far departure from arrow.
So they
just have the ball projection weapon. Yeah.
Projectile.
So like when people use flintlock rifles, there's a reason why they've lined a whole bunch of them up to just shoot in that general direction. No one's aiming; they just
a volley.
Yeah, they're volleys. Yeah, execution by volley because they can't, just aim.
So
not accurate.
So the doctor's running around. He tries to go up the stairs and get out. In the meantime, Sarah Jane goes on a little side quest because the doctor whipped up some sleeping potion to put them all to sleep, and she goes into the scullery acting like a maid, or is she pretending to steal food? Although she's actually stealing food for the scientists, I think.
She's gonna spike the food with the sleep potion, steal some food, but then she gets caught.
Yeah, and they put her to work, and she brings the 20th century, suffrage in there, and she's very much about that rah, and so, and that's great for 20th century, but it didn't work back then, the 14th century and whatever.
Not very much work back then.
Yeah, so she ends up spiking both the meat broth and the oats.
Porridge,
the porridge, and then she goes out and she finally makes her way to.
She heard the sword fighting when the doctor's sword fighting,
and then she heard the.
Then she heard the flintlock rifles, and then she's like, "I gotta go do something."
They're executing that wizard, the doctor. So she goes and she helps the doctor by taking a chandelier that's one of the things that hold all the lights, and swinging it towards him. So when he went up the little stairs and found the door was locked, he could then grab the chandelier, bust through, and they could run out. And for some reason, in the Great Hall, this makes no sense to me at all. There's a bar on the outside of the door, not the inside. There should have been a bar on the inside.
That was what they rigged up to be like the prison quarters, right?
But no. That's
like they took over the castle, and that's where they drug people away to execute them or something, right?
No,
because it had that straw floor. It had a chandelier, but they tied it up because they weren't using it for like a great hall. So they took them into. I feel like when they took over the castle,
I thought that was the Great Hall.
They repurposed it. It looked smaller than that because it had the door there and then the staircase to the other door that was barred from.
Okay. I can believe that. Some sort of... Now, there were dungeons down below.
Right, no, I agree. It's not, like, it wasn't designed to have it that way, but...
If they were locking prisoners up in there, then it makes a lot more sense for the bar to be on the outside. But I don't know... I mean, I guess he took his men there to shoot the doctor because that's where he had put him. Mm-hmm. And that makes more sense. Mm-hmm.
That's the impression I got, but I could be wrong. It could just be like a...
I thought it was in the Great Hall again. I'm like, why is there a bar on the outdoor side of it?
It looked a lot smaller than,
Okay. I think you're right.
It could have just been like a writer's excuse to, this is how he gets away.
I think you're right. But they get away. They run off. They go and they're still trying to get the scientists out, and they start doing it. Mm-hmm. Strax, in the meantime, has finished his machine. Lynx. Sorry. Strax is a Sontaran in the new stuff of Doctor Who.
Okay.
Yeah. He's really funny too. And he's actually basically a companion.
It's a potato head companion.
Yeah. Well, there's a group called the Paternoster Gang.
With the
Silurian,
a
a Sontaran, and a human. And the human lady and the Silurian lady are married. And then there's Strax, who's
the third wheel.
The third wheel. He's hilarious. He's sort of a man butler, and yeah, he's funny as all get out. They really make him funny, and he's just like. And once again, he can't recognize gender, so he calls the women a little boy. Because there's no gender, right? Yeah,
they're born in pods or whatever.
Yeah, and that comes up in this deal.
He mentioned something about their birthing cycle in this serial, where he's talking about... He's comparing the differences between Iron Gron and and Sarah Jane. He's like,
you have two
different
there's a different build on the thorax, yeah.
So he's like, you have a primary cycle and then a secondary cycle? That's not efficient. You should only be birthing warriors, right?
Right.
So he didn't... he said something about how they did it on their planet, but...
Yeah, I don't know. 1 million Sontarans are put out at every
cycle
or whatever.
So they can sustain, startling amount of casualties on the battlefield, and that doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, Sontarans are bred to die, essentially, or hatched to die, or whatever.
He also comments about how the primitive humans are never going to make it as a warrior race because they ran away from the stink bombs. And
he had questions at whether or not they would ever make a warrior race. Yeah. So anyway, Doctor and Sarah get out. They start going to help the scientists. They start sending the scientists back to the 20th century with the help of that little device. Then,
again, relating to Lynx a lot. Whether or not humans are going to make it as a
True.
You see some of the recruiting videos they're making nowadays.
Oh my gosh! Don't even get me started. It's just sad. So they get out.
I don't know if I'm supposed to like Lynx, but I kind of like Lynx. I'm like, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I can relate to that.
And like I said, in the old days, this would have been a 6-parter, but in the 60s, in the 70s, they chop it down to 4 parts, and it goes really fast.
Fast-paced, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of stuff's going on. But it's a well-paced. It's a good clip. So anyway, they go back. They decide to let enough time occur because they escape, but now they've got to help the scientists. And this is when he's whistling out and he knocks the guards unconscious. Mm-hmm. So they allow time for the sleeping potion to take effect. Mm-hmm. Then they once again, these castles must have been like 5-minute walk from each other. I mean, the way they go back and forth. But half a mile down the road. Mm-hmm. So then they go back and they bring some men with them. Now they're getting the scientists out. Tell Hal to disarm everybody. which he does for the most part.
I mean, he takes their sword, right? And then he lays it on the ground next to them like he's disarming. He's like, I took your sword, and then he drops it. And he takes the... Well, he's not really disarming.
He was making a pile at that one point. Okay. But he's disarming people. He accidentally wakes up Iron Gron.
Because, right, Iron Gron has built up an
immunity to iocane powder.
Because of all the alcohol, he's an alcoholic, right? He drinks a lot of wine, which is sleep inducing, right?
Fair, yeah.
Alcohol puts you to sleep, so he drinks a ton of alcohol. So the sleeping potion doesn't have quite a profound effect on him. He's able to snap out of his
he wakes up
slumber.
He knocks out Hal, and then he runs to go get Lynx because he's angry at Lynx.
Yeah.
He charges in while Lynx is literally starting up a spaceship to leave.
Well, Lynx was tied up at one point.
But, right. He runs in and he unties him. Yeah. Well, no, that was before they start shooting the doctor. Okay. Yeah. So he runs in and he challenges Lynx, and Lynx kills him. We're almost done with the entire serial before we have our first death. Lynx just kills him. Then
the doctor ran and grabbed his... Did we talk about his shield thing he got out of the TARDIS?
Oh, yeah, no, he got this nice shield, so Lynx couldn't zap the...
familiar. We've seen that before, haven't we? The folding shield. I feel like he used that in a...
I don't know if he did or not.
Or we saw where he got it or something.
Something. I mean, maybe the second Doctor?
I feel like, he used that for reflecting something before. It's this little fold-out shield.
Yeah, it's like a fold-out fan.
Yeah.
Except it goes all the way around.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's made of aluminum or tin or something.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so the Doctor shows up. He's rescuing the scientist. He's got that defensive shield. Lynx zaps at him a couple times. They fight a little bit. Lynx ends up heading into a ship. Mm-hmm. At that point, Hal had woken up. Hal woke up Bloodaxe and all them and told them to run for their lives. Flee, you dogs, if you want to save your skin. They all run out. Then Hal shows up and he shoots at Lynx with his bow right as the door is closing the ship. Gets him right in the probic valve.
It's like those trick shots archers would do where they shoot through the ring. Like he got him right in
tiny. Yeah, great shot. Well, he was at very close range. He's a shot. And that kills Lynx. But then Lynx hits the takeoff.
You assume he dies.
Oh no, he dies. There was a big explosion.
Well, I mean, it always makes an explosion when it takes off.
Not like that. So the Doctor, Hal, and
because
Sarah
they were
Jane.
planning on the explosion, right? It's like let Iron Gron leave the weapons in the castle. Then when you leave, it'll destroy the weapons in the castle.
Right, but an arrow directly there will kill him.
Yeah, but I mean, there's always the explosion when he takes off, which is a very interesting form of time travel. I can just imagine a bunch of fleets getting ready to travel through space and just creating huge explosions.
Yeah, the Sontarans are not known for subtlety.
Definitely not.
Okay, so
we assume he's dead with Iron Gron, who was exploded.
So the two bad guys both die. The minions get away.
Yeah.
Hopefully the scullery maids all got out. We don't know.
They must.
But so the Doctor, Sarah Jane, Hal run out. They get knocked forward by the explosion, and then there's a deleted scene, I guess, because Sarah Jane goes back to her 20th century clothes, and then they leave in the TARDIS. Well, yeah, she was in the other clothes, and then somehow she's immediately in her 20th century clothes, jumping back into the TARDIS.
Maybe she put the older clothes on top of her new clothes.
It's possible, but she would have been really warm.
Yeah.
So
maybe it's real brisk outside.
Yeah, well, it is England. So then they take off in the TARDIS to head back, and that's the end of
the serial.
The Time Warrior.
Yeah. Time Warrior.
All right, what questions do you have?
Next time is we covered some of them. Let's see here. Can we talk about the life cycle of Time Lords again? Because we we have a few hints as to the lifespan. I don't think they named the number of regenerations yet, but they've named things
No, they've not named the number yet.
They've named things like the 500-year journal, so it gives us kind of an insight into how old he is.
Well, and he mentions he's past 200. He's over 200 years old.
He's talking about how he's over his prime, right? If he's an old man,
yeah,
like I'm not spry.
Like,
once you're over 200, you're not spry like you used to, which gives us this impression that Time Lords, the youth period is like up until 200 years, which is, I don't know, like a 40-year-old man, and then he's about 300 years past his prime. So they get old quick, but then they just have this really long lifespan because they just keep regenerating, which is kind of what you and I are going through, to where humans, our medical technology has progressed to a point where really our bodies are kept alive through all sorts of surgeries and vitamins and blood thinners and heart pumps or whatever. You just keep going, but then some people, I feel like your mind really wears out before your body does anymore. Do you get that? Like how we're getting real old. Our lifespan it increases with technology.
Yeah.
Which I feel like that's what's happening with the Time Lords. Again, we're just giving hints. We don't really know how Time Lords work, but he gives the impression.
You find out a lot more later on.
That they're youthful until like 200 years, and then like 500 years is really old. But then their technology has progressed to where they just regenerate, or we don't really.
You find out later on.
Okay.
Literally, the Doctor later on is thousands of years old. Thousands. And
so if 200 years is youthful, thousands of years, he must be ancient, right?
Well, yes and no.
But it's different because he regenerates.
Correct.
But as he regenerates, he's not considered a youthful Time Lord anymore.
Well, he can regenerate to look youthful, but
right.
And then there's Heaven Sent, Hell Bent, where the Doctor lives for 5,000 years in his confession dial.
This in this one, like, serial? Or?
Yeah, one episode.
Oh, wow.
In one episode, he lives 5,000 years. 5 billion years.
Oh, well, he's very old.
Dying billions of times.
That's the new stuff.
Yeah, dying billions of times in order to save an ungrateful wench. All right. Sorry, I do not like Claire.
The sacrifice.
I really do not like Claire. Yeah.
Because that's the person that everyone says, well, she's not really deserving of the Doctor's love or sacrifice or stuff. I haven't seen the new stuff, but that's what I hear.
But what perturbs me the most about it is the Doctor was married. Mm-hmm. Okay, we presume he's a grandfather, so he was married way back when. But he gets married in the new stuff.
Or at least he gets around.
Right, no, but he gets married in the new stuff, right?
Okay.
He goes through billions of deaths and billions of years of suffering. And he does that for an opportunity to save somebody. One person. And he does not he saves Clara. And I'm sorry. His wife died. You save your wife. You save your wife. You don't save a companion. And that just perturbed me to no end, and still does.
That's a head scratcher.
Yeah. And
which Doctor is that?
Not up there.
Not up. So newer than these.
12th?
Yeah. Doctor?
Yeah, 12th Doctor Capaldi. This goes up to 11.
You ever see Doctor Strange?
No.
Okay. Yeah, you heard about the Dormammu thing where he creates a time loop?
No.
Okay. Well,
I saw a rap battle between Doctor Strange and the Doctor.
That sounds great. Epic rap battle?
Yeah, it was funny.
I haven't seen that one.
To be fair, Doctor Strange won.
Well, he's a lot more militant, sorcerer than Doctor Who, who's like a butterfly catcher.
Yeah, but he had one amazing line that...
you're talking about specifically the rap battle?
Yeah, the rap battle. Yeah, specifically in the rap battle, Doctor Strange won.
Okay.
He had a line talking about a companion, right? He says, "Yeah, death follows you. she was dead when you chose her. And I'm like, that's true.
brings me to another question about the morality of the Doctor. He's picked up another companion. Let's talk about intuition of character, right? So we have Sarah Jane Smith. She's a nice lady, nice-looking lady. She wanders upon Sir Edward's wife, the Queen, or whatever.
You look like someone I could trust.
Yeah, you look like someone I could trust. That's her initial judge of character, just by sight. You get a feel for a person, you listen to them, you look at them. If they're attractive, normally they're more trustworthy than someone who's ugly, which you associate with villains or something. Well, if someone has like a big old scar, they could be the nicest person in the world, but you look at them and you're like, that looks like someone who would rob a bank.
Okay, to be fair, and it's not always the case, but in life, much of the time it is the case. A person's inner self shows through their skin. Okay,
like that. Was it Edgar Allan Poe that wrote the portrait story?
No. That was Dorian Gray, written by what was the name of that playwright?
The picture got uglier and uglier no matter what he did, but he
looked good, but
until they swapped places.
What was the name of that? I can't think of the name of the guy, but he was a playwright. He mostly wrote plays, but he wrote the one novel, and he was flamboyantly gay guy when you couldn't be flamboyantly gay. It was like in the 30s or so, 1930s. When it was illegal. It was illegal in England. He was British, English. It was illegal to be gay.
They go and break up the gay bars.
But you didn't have such things. Back then, most gay people stayed quote unquote in the closet. They were hidden. They might be single. They might get married, but they hid their true selves. It's funny, it's Gay Pride Month, so
very applicable, yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, so he wrote that novel about that, and because he was such a talent, and artists are supposedly flamboyant and eccentric, he was allowed to be that way, and everyone knew he was. He was able to get away with things. I can't think of his name. It's just escaping me at the moment.
Shakespeare.
No, it was not Shakespeare.
Shakespeare was gay.
No.
I'm pretty sure.
Supposedly the guy's last lines were either that wallpaper goes or I do. And then he dies.
Oh. He went...
I want that last line.
Did they change the wallpaper after that?
I don't know, but I'm stealing that line.
I've been watching The Queen's Gambit on Netflix, which is like a show that takes place in the 1960s. But every time there's a scene with like an interior, I'm just gawking at the wallpaper. Like, look at that wallpaper.
So listen, I went on vacation, right? We went to Vegas, and we're walking through some of the casinos. We're like, yep, 1970s carpet. Yep, this needs to be redone. It's been 50 years, guys. Because we remember when we were growing up, we'd see stuff like that. It's like, that was big in the 70s, or that was big in the 60s, or whatever. Oh my gosh. But anyway, but no, picture of Dorian Gray. But for most people, if their faces are twisted and disturbed,
like a crackhead, you can you can know someone may not be reputable.
Well, not even that.
If they're
you can watch some people. You can watch some people and they have a permanent sneer on their face because they look down upon everybody, or they have a lot
prudish kind of
they have a lot of hatred in their heart, so they just exude anger, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and there's some people like that, and you can just see that they're bitter, twisted people. And a lot of it shows up in your body language, your presence, because children and animals and some people can look at a person and sense if they're good or bad because they exude genuineness, honesty. They exude authenticity, whereas other people exude duplicity or greed or anger or resentment or selfishness.
There's been a lot of studies into this about well-trained professionals being able to tell from facial tics or stuff that if someone's lying or not. But then on the other side of it, we have this sort of unconscious bias of, people that are prettier, they have reduced jail sentences than the ugly people when they go to court for the same crime. Because subconsciously the jury and the judge are judging these ugly people more strictly than they do pretty people. That's a thing. That
goes right back to the human nature of looking at somebody and determined by their outside physical appearance. Because and like I said, it's not always the case, but more often than not, and stereotypes exist for a reason. The people who a lot of them who are ugly on the outside are ugly on the inside because their outside is a reflection of their twisted psyche or their twisted heart.
There's some merit to it, right? Yeah. There's some merit, and then sometimes it's
not the case.
Not applicable. Yeah, it's not. It's a sort of bias.
Right. So you have to take everything on a case by case basis.
So right. So Sir Edward's wife, I don't know if we ever got her name, but she looks at Sarah Jane Smith and goes, "That's a face I can trust. That's a trustworthy person." And then let's talk about Sarah Jane.
I don't think we ever got a name.
Smith's first impression of the Doctor, that he was a bad guy, right?
Well,
and he's in cahoots with Iron Gron and capturing scientists.
She didn't like him because he kind of talked down to her because she was she was honestly being very annoying.
Just doing some investigative reporting. I was just questioning the morality of the Doctor, right? He leads to the death of a lot of companions, right? He lies. He's kind of manipulative, right? He's not. He likes to play himself off as this holy good person. I never lie. Well, sometimes. But
to be fair, this will change with different incarnations of the Doctor. Mm-hmm. But in the modern stuff, there is actually a good amount of navel gazing, a good amount of morality exploring.
Morally gray areas.
Well, not only that, but examining whether or not those are good areas or bad areas, and examining, how could you do this? In fact,
the means justify the ends kind of
situation. Well, no, the Doctor almost never goes that route. But the questioning of the 12th Doctor, one of the first things he asks is, "Am I a good man?" And
I'm glad he finally asks the question himself, because I feel like I'm the only one asking.
But no, I mean,
right now he seems very convinced that he's a good person.
Oh no, the third Doctor's amazing.
So I'm glad that later on he's at least a little retrospective on his decisions and the consequences of his gallivanting.
That's also a product of modern culture questioning, in this case, white men on everything they do. And that's seeped into the show,
Well, it's every man. Every man has to, be every person needs to be retrospective and
introspective.
Introspective.
Yeah.
Retrospective, introspective.
Yeah.
Futurespective. Spective.
But no, I mean, the Doctor is faced at times with really crappy scenarios. It's let this one person die. Right. Or let 1,000 people die.
It's the train track and the one big...
trial by trolley, yeah.
You switch the track or...
Right. And the Doctor has to deal with that, and it's really, really crappy a lot of times. Mm-hmm. And he makes the best decisions he can. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the morality comes up a lot, in the show. Even going back to Genesis of the Daleks, which I can't wait to show you. It's next season, by the way. This is the
next Doctor.
Yeah, 4th Doctor, Tom Baker. Yeah. This is the first serial of the 11th season of the show, which is the 5th and final season for Pertwee. And then we start Tom Baker, and his, I believe, 3rd serial is Genesis of the Daleks.
I'm excited.
Yeah, it is one of the utmost classics of the show.
So we get to see, what's the Dalek planet?
Skaro.
We get to see Skaro and the what's the people, the pretty people?
Thralls.
The Thralls, yeah.
And you get to see where the Daleks come from, the Khalids.
So that was the species that devolved into the Dalek slugs.
Essentially, yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm excited.
We
have several
The next serial is Invasion of the Dinosaurs, and it's okay. It's not as good as this one.
6 episodes? 4?
Yeah, 6 episodes. The special effects are very questionable.
Well, that's just fun. That's good fun.
True. Wait till we get the dinosaurs on the spaceship.
We were talking about the green screens and the Green Death, where they're obviously in front of a...
There's going to be some of that Invasion of the Dinosaurs.
Oh, good. You ever see Planet of the Dinosaurs? It's like a 1980s film. Great. Fantastic.
What other questions did you have?
Moving on from the morality of the Doctor. Obviously, I'm playing devil's advocate. He is a good he's the protagonist. He's
good movie, by the way. Wait.
Always willing to self-sacrifice. What?
Have you seen that movie?
Which movie?
The Devil's Advocate.
No.
Add it to the list.
Okay.
Keanu Reeves.
I like Keanu Reeves. Well, most of the time I like Keanu.
Charlize Theron. And, what's his name? I'm blanking on his name. Fantastic actor. Absolutely fantastic actor.
Charlie's Angels. Cameron Diaz.
No, she is absolutely not in that movie. No. Oh, what's his name? Come on, The Godfather. He was in The Godfather.
With the wonky eye?
No, not Abe Vigoda. No, the Al Pacino. Al Pacino. Oh my gosh. Alright, yeah, great movie. Alright,
not anymore, he's in some real trash movies nowadays.
Ooh. If you live long enough, you become a parody of yourself. And that's just sad.
It's so true.
What was that line in
it's so true.
The Dark Knight?
In Spider-Man, you either live long enough... You either die the hero or live long enough to become the villain.
Yeah, that's such a good one.
That's from Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 1.
No,
the Green Goblin.
Dark Knight. The Dark Knight.
From Spider-Man.
Dark Knight.
You either die that... So, we got Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man. He's passed out on the rooftop because the Green Goblin gas, right? So the Green Goblin gives him this ultimatum, like, join me or rule the world or I'll kill you. And he gives him this super raw line of you either die the hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. That's a Spider-Man line.
I also think it's in The Dark Knight.
I don't think it is.
I think it is. Alright.
There's a different line in The Dark Knight.
I think it's said by the Joker. Okay, so...
Oh, no, the Joker is...
The Dark Knight.
Yeah, he has a line, but it's different.
He's got a bunch of lines, but...
He does.
Right, what's the next question?
Moving on. We see the Doctor wearing this cool necklace. Is there a significance behind the necklace? Have we seen that necklace before? It just looked really unique. And is that like a gadget?
Oh.
Does that come up later?
That particular necklace, which, interesting that you noticed, is... Okay, you know how the TARDIS key is usually a classic lock key?
Yeah. This episode, it looked different. He had it on like one of those retractable zip things.
Oh, no.
He says, I'm going to make myself some coffee. And he pulled
that necklace... that pendant is the TARDIS key.
It's a backup key, or
no? It's the TARDIS key for the last couple seasons of Pertwee and the first season of Tom Baker.
Okay.
Pertwee designed it himself, and he used it as the TARDIS key for a while, and then Tom Baker did for a while.
Cool. So that's his shtick, like the recorder. I feel like every person that plays the Doctor kind of adds their own thing.
Spin to it, right. No, his is it's the Venusian Aikido.
Well, that was written in, but like everyone, the actors themselves, they go.
But that's Venusian Aikido. That's his gentleman doctor, his outfits, and he had a lot of say in a lot of that.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that. Thought that'd be all.
Well, he's like 6'2", and he fought in World War II. I mean, the guy knew how to handle himself. Mm-hmm. All right, so what's next?
He looked especially old in this episode.
He's getting on in years.
I noticed that when he was.
Yeah.
When his face was straining with the thing on it, I'm like, I'm seeing some wrinkles there I didn't see before.
Yeah, it's all white now instead of gray. Yeah.
Moving on.
What's the next question?
We talked about the Dr. Shield's life cycle, 200 years, necklace. I think that about covers it. We touched on most of these things while we're doing the recap.
Okay.
The dummies and I Never Lie. Oh, did we talk about the Sontarans versus the Rooters? I think we touched on
Rutens,
that.
yep.
Rutens.
And we see the Rutens once. We see the Sontarans constantly. Well, not constantly. They're very frequent, though.
You're interesting.
Yeah, we had that one day where we went through the list of different bad guys. Most of the bad guys are from the classic era, but like the Weeping Angels are from the modern era. The absolute.
That's another note I made is that I feel like every serial we're getting something very unique. They're always making new villains, new really, some of them are really unique and stick. Like the Cybermen and the Daleks and the Master. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, they're really making new characters, new villains every serial.
Not quite every serial.
Not quite. Yeah, they go back on the...
Yeah, a lot of returns.
A lot of returns to the Daleks and the Cybermen, but they're... most serials, they're making new, unique villains. And I feel like the new stuff... I haven't watched the new stuff, but I feel like they really rely a lot on these recurring... old villains that were already established. Like you go back to the Cybermen a ton, right? And
to be fair,
there's not new, like besides Weeping Angels, like you said, there's not these new really impactful villains that came around during the new stuff. Right?
There's three I can think of.
Three.
The Weeping Angels, the Silence.
That's like the Darkness, the Never-Ending Story.
Not exactly.
That's a good villain there.
There you go. And
the Nothingness. The
Rastafalakturians, or how do you say it? I can't remember the Slovene. The Slovene.
Slovene.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's one from the Sarah Jane Adventures called The Trickster that I wish had made it into the main show.
That sounds like an
Right.
Like a Loki.
He's only in the Sarah Jane Adventures. He does make it in the main show, which is kind of funny because we're talking about Sarah Jane just showed up today. She stays with the Doctor for about 2.5, 3 seasons.
Oh, wow. So she goes into Baker's.
Oh, yeah. She goes well into Baker's run.
Okay. Kind of like Stephen and Susan were around for when we went from Hartnell to Trouton.
Susan wasn't around. Neither was Stephen.
Stephen wasn't? Someone watched him transform, right? Who was it?
Okay, we just watched that recently on our recap.
We did? The animated one?
It was Ben and Polly.
Ben and Polly, that's
Ben and Polly were the ones who watched him.
They were with Hartnell and then they watched him regenerate. So then we have Sarah Jane that goes from Baker to...
Right. Now remember, nobody watched the second Doctor regenerating the third.
Right, yeah, no one was around for that. Well, technically...
But the Brigadier was a companion for the second Doctor, and he was convinced by the third that he was the same man. So the Brigadier was the one to associate and make the connection.
Trouton did have companions with him, but they had their memories wiped and sent back. That was still Ben and Polly, was it? Who was that? Oh, that one was Stephen and... Who was that?
Dude.
I'm super bad.
Yeah, you are. That was...
They had their memories wiped and then sent back to their own time. And
right. That's Jamie.
Jamie. Oh, okay.
And Zoe.
Jamie and Zoe were with Trouton when he...
Right. They had their memories wiped, and Jamie was sent right back to the battle he was in, and Zoe was sent back to her place.
Like a dream.
Right, he just knew that he met the Doctor the one time, and...
Do you think they would notice that they aged like a year or so?
At that age,
if you're here, right?
Yeah.
And then you go on some sort of crazy time adventure, you age a year, and then you're teleported back here, and your memories are wiped, and then would you notice that you're a year older, that you lost a year?
Not unless I gained or lost a lot of weight. I mean, my hair's been the same forever, my... beard, it's whatever length has been the same forever. I mean,
like if you had the same weight and like the same haircut and trim, like the same facial.
Not unless I'd gained some scars or something or muscle mass. I don't know.
I wonder if I would notice, because I'm starting to get to that age where you just kind of. The changes become more and more subtle as you get older. Like you could really notice, like 13 to 14 or so.
Yeah, your voice changes, you hit puberty.
Right.
But no, at a certain
grow.
point, it's pretty much the same for a long time.
Your eyes just subtly become a little bit more milkier. Or something.
Yeah, you get some bags, you know.
I might look in the mirror and be like, did I? Am I a year older?
All right.
I heard that through your spine.
All right. Okay. So next week,
The dinos.
Invasion of the Dinosaurs. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. See you later.
We'll see you next week. Yeah.
Next week. All
Next
right.
week.
Bye.
With some dinos, we'll have some laughs about some green screen and maybe some bad.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
See ya.